Siamai a croeso I campus Kincoed a Met Cardiff a Narbon Leeds Becket. Hello everyone and welcome to Kincoed campus for another BUCS Super Rugby clash where Cardiff Met are taking on Leeds Becket University here at Kincoed campus's Rugby 1 pitch. I'm James Roberts and joining me up in the gantry today is none other than our rugby presenter, in-house BUCS Super Rugby expert Cian Tukey. Cian, how are you this evening?
James, you are too kind and I'm loving that intro. I mean, it's catering for both audiences, aren't we? I'm very excited tonight, James. It's a cold, crisp night here at Kincoed campus and I think we're ready to see some absolutely lovely running rugby.
The rain has been coming down, but at the moment it is easing off, and hopefully it will do so for the duration, and that way we can see a really entertaining game of rugby. As I said, Leeds Becket are the visiting sides this week, and last week they're coming off of a loss of 20 points to 41 at home against Hartpury University, who Met beat just a few weeks ago, 26 points to 25. And Cardiff Met themselves are coming off a big win against Durham in the last round. Cian, talk me through about which side has got the most momentum going into this fixture.
Well, I think it's quite clear with momentum. I mean, Leeds Becket haven't won a game all season. They are still yet to get that first win, and whereas Met are coming off of a 4-match winning streak. So I think it's quite clear that Met are coming in with the momentum, but Leeds are not a side to be underestimated.
Well, their last win, actually, Cian, came last season. It came in the rearranged fixture between them and Cardiff University, where they won 76-14. It came just a week before the quarter-final stages of the BUCS Super Rugby tournament, where they crashed out instantly, and they didn't continue in the season from there. And from that point, they have not won a single game, as you've already said. The 17-all draw against Cardiff definitely would have seen them get a bit of momentum in this league. Do we think that perhaps they can get back on the front foot tonight at Fortress Kincoed?
Well, do you know what? At the end of the day, with Leeds, historically, they have always been up there within the BUCS competitions. They've been struggling recently. They've lost a lot of big names, and this is a very young but physical side who are coming here to Kincoed today. That draw against Cardiff really would have helped things. I mean, at that time, Cardiff were top of the league. They were flying high. So to be able to get a draw there, I think, was a phenomenal effort. And now they're facing another Cardiff side. Can the fortunes strike them again? I'm not too sure.
You were right, it really was a phenomenal effort from the Leeds Becket boys. But let's draw our attention now to the home side, to the Archers themselves. The season so far, it's been a little bit up and down, a little bit to and fro for them. You know, in those opening 3 fixtures, they won only 2 of those games. But since then, they've been on a big winning run. They are 1 game away, actually, from equaling last season's winning streak of 5 games in a row. So a win tonight would draw equal with that, and potentially going into next week, they could do themselves one better compared to last season. Do you think the UIC boys have got it behind them?
Do you know what? I think at the start of the season they had 3 very difficult games. Going down to Swansea, to St Helens, a really ground where a lot of teams have tripped up before. Then Cardiff, I think they slightly underestimated them because of previous year results. And Exeter, aren't they? They're a very strong team. But since then, Danny and the boys have been able to get together. They've reassessed, they've looked at where they are. Changes have come in. No one is safe in this team, and we know that. I think they've been able to put together a really strong run of results, and I think the Archers will be up for it tonight.
Absolutely, and with with Danny Milton in charge of Cardiff Met, I should say, they've never finished lower than 4th in this league, but the exclusive club of a top 2 finish has always eluded them, and Danny spoke last week in particular about how important that will be to him going into the postseason. But they take it week by week, they take the wins and the victories week by week, but there are other fixtures at the moment in BUCS Super Rugby. This evening we've got Cardiff versus Nottingham, Durham versus Exeter, Bath versus Swansea, and Hartpury versus Loughborough. Cian, there's some big matchups in there in those 4 games, I should say. Which one actually catches your eye the most out of all of them?
Well, do you know the one fixture that sticks out to me before any of them is that Durham-Exeter game. It's a rematch of that final that we had last year, where Exeter were able to blow everyone out the water and take home the cup after Durham had looked so strong all season.
Will Durham be looking to get revenge with home advantage on their side as well?
They have to be. Both Durham and Exeter have had a bit of a mixed season this season. They haven't started how they wanted to, and they want to be up there. They need to be up there, and Durham will have that within them. They're wanting that revenge against Exeter.
Another one that sticks out for me in particular here, now what it'd be interesting to see if you agree with me, is that Hartpury-Loughborough game. Obviously Loughborough sitting top of the table currently at the moment. Hartpury could be a serious challenger for them to try and stop their title charge, because Hartpury are sitting further down the table than ideally they would want to be, obviously being renowned not only nationally but internationally for their rugby prowess. Will they be wanting a big victory at home this evening and knock Loughborough off their top perch?
Do you know what? Hartpury have been such a sticky opposition for so many of the top teams in recent years. Cardiff lost them when they were at the top of the table, and I mean, they didn't give Met an easy game at all. I think that Hartpury will be well up for it, and Loughborough, they've been looking like they're flying this season, but this is going to be a really tricky game for them. However, I do think Loughborough will take it.
And it's not just BUCS Super Rugby fixtures that have caught our eyes recently in the rugby world. It's of course been the Autumn Nations series, and linking it to BUCS Super Rugby, we've seen two people actually make appearances for Wales in this autumn series. We've seen Chris Chunza come on for Wales, but we've also seen the introduction of none other than Davith Jenkins, current student at Exeter University. He played here at Kincoy campus but a few weeks ago. Kian, how big is that for this league to see those players going out on the international stage?
Do you know what? It's a massive advocate for the league. I mean, you're showing that players of that age have been able to be put in programmes like at Exeter, where it's taken them to the international stage. It just shows how high a level of rugby this team is playing. And the word on Davith Jenkins, he was named as captain of Exeter at 19 years old, only a week before. And I think he's definitely a name we need to be looking out for.
And it's not just Exeter University, but also Cardiff Met have thrown a few boys out there internationally. And most recently, Aaron Wainwright may have missed out on the Wales squad, but he was included in the Barbarians fixture against the All Blacks 15, and they came away from a win. That was a huge victory for the Barbars.
I mean, certainly. And for Aaron Wainwright himself to be called up to that Barbarian side must have been a huge honour. He would have been disappointed not to get into that Wales squad, but you know what? If you get the chance to play for the Barbars, you are definitely going to take it.
Absolutely, you will be. Now, let's turn our attention from the Barbarians and from those individuals to the overall Autumn Nations performance of Wales. It's been a little bit disappointing, to say the least. A lacklustre performance from that side so far. What's your take on it? I mean, me, myself, as a Welsh fan, it's been quite difficult to watch this autumn series, Cian.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's a target on Wayne Pivac's back now, isn't there? He really poor results this season. How many wins is it this year? Four wins this year. Losses against Georgia, losses against Italy. I mean, that just doesn't bode well. And do you know what? We can talk about a bigger picture about the WRU, but there's no point getting into that now. The main sticking point is Wales are not performing. The World Cup is less than a year away now, and something really needs to change. And I mean, you saw with Argentina, you thought they were clawing it back. Really good display there to put out a very strong Puma side, who only a week before had beaten England, but something needs to change with Wales.
And with Sam Warburton recently publishing an article which actually attacks the WRU in a way, it's interesting to see whether they will respond to that publicly or indeed internally by making a few changes, and then potentially we could see some performance changes. And of course, England have had their own Autumn Nation series. It's been pretty okay for them in this series. Obviously, as you mentioned already, they lost to Argentina, but big victory against Japan, a draw with the All Blacks. I'm still disappointed they didn't go for the win, but linking it back to BUCS Super Rugby, Freddie Stewart, only a few seasons ago, playing for Loughborough University, playing at Leicester Tigers soon afterwards, and now playing for England, being named the best fullback in the world. Again, Cian, I'm going to go back to this point as to why this is the best league in the land.
I mean, you said it perfectly there. The fact he's in the World 15 and he was only playing in BUCS Super Rugby a few seasons ago, it's showing the quality, the high level that these players are producing. I mean, you're seeing in the Premiership Cup as well. You are having players such as Fred Davis, Mark Ramage scoring tries, and they'll be able to hit those heights in a few years, no doubt, all because of the foundations that have been set here at BUCS Super Rugby.
Absolutely, and we see the Leeds Becket side now coming out onto the pitch ahead of this BUCS Super Rugby clash. The wind, Cian, is starting to pick up a little bit. We've got a Leeds Becket player actually who has a 100% kicking record in terms of attempting 50-22s. Will they be going for that this evening?
I mean, certainly, if the wind's behind you, they're going to need to be looking to attack at that. I mean, these aren't great conditions for running rugby. You're going to need to play the conditions. Something actually that Durham failed to do last week, and Cardiff Met were very good at handling.
Well, we're going to turn our attention to the Leeds Becket lineup now, seeing as they are on the pitch. Kerry Woods makes 5 changes across his Becket side today, with Nelly Kinneberg coming in at hooker, lining up with Emi Ilanshuta and club captain Callum Hancock. Louis Guthrie and Aaron Sugate go again in the second row, with Tom Mills of the Sale Academy coming in to join Charlie Mears and Ollie Malarkey in the back row. Mason Winterburn comes into the side at scrum half and will be looking to add his Premiership Rugby Cup experience, partnering Freddie Spenceley at fly half. Top try scorer Jody Devine is on the left wing, and Sam Bullitt joins the side at inside centre, accompanying Jake Scott in the middle of the park. Mongan Moyo has impressed and worked his way up through the sides this year to make his BUCS Super Rugby debut at right wing, with Matt Salisbury rounding off the starters at full back for Becket. And Ben Bailey is a new addition to the Impact players and is joined along the likes of Griff John Morris and Caleb Cujo as front row replacements. Sam Anson and Ben Pettifer, the fellow forward replacements, looking to use their Gloucester Academy and Northumberland's under-20s experience respectively. Dan Reid, the only retained back replacement from last week's game against Hartbury, also has Spencer Cope and Ollie Norton with him to make an impact in the back line in this evening's fixture. Cian, they've got a great side fielded out there, as I've just said, plenty of experience, a plethora of player knowledge for them to bring out into this fixture. They are looking like a good, informed side on paper. Will it translate into an on-field performance?
Well, at the end of the day, the general consensus with Leeds Becket is they're a bit of a sleeping giant. They're going to be growing into the season now. They have not had a great start, but as many coaches like Al Flowers have said, getting into these wintry condition months, this will actually suit their game. They've got a very big pack, very physical pack, and I think in the next coming months you're really going to see the true damage that Leeds Becket can do.
I think one to watch in particular, I don't know if you agree with me, Cian, but is definitely Mongan Moyo. We're hearing that he's scored a number of hat-tricks throughout the club in fixtures this year, and that's why he's been honoured by the powers that be above him, the DOR and the coaching staff, with this BUCS Super Rugby debut. Is he going to be a threat this evening for Cardiff Met?
Do you know what? At the end of the day, Mongan Moyo is someone who's really shown what a rugby project like Leeds Becket can do. He was starting in the third team at the start of the year, and he's impressed, and he's moved up and moved up and moved up. It's certainly a compliment to the coaching staff and everything that they're doing there. The wingers of Cardiff are going to need to be really, really careful with how they're handling someone in such hot form.
Absolutely, and that player that I mentioned earlier who's actually had the 100% 50-22 successes is Matt Salisbury, who brings his London Irish ACE programme and under-18s academy experience into this Becket side. And what I mean by that is he's actually kicked every time he's gone for it for a 50-22, it's come off, and that's such a key thing for players with these new rules, isn't it, Cian?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're able to exploit that 50-22, that advantage that it gives you as a team, putting them on the back foot in dangerous territory is absolutely brilliant. And to have someone in that your team with that in their arsenal, I mean, putting Met under pressure, whether it goes out for a 50-22 or not, the team are still having to get back onto the front foot, and I think he's just going to be a benefit for them.
Absolutely, and we'll turn our attention now to the home side, to the Cardiff Met lineup, and Milton and his men see 6 changes to the starting lineup, all involving movement in the pack for this fixture. A new front row in Ben Murphy, Tyler Olding and Matt Yarworth Scott start and hopefully lead the way in Met scrum domination. They're supported by an engine room of USA Under-20s Eagle Brandon Harvey and Chiefs Academy Barnaby Waddle. One of last week's top tacklers, Bertie Taylor, is joined by Jack Wickham and Benji Williams in the back row, and an unchanged backline starts with Rory Morgan at scrum half, and BUCS Super Rugby all-time leading point scorer Bradley Roderick Evans captains the side and starts at 10. Ewan Bowden at the left wing with a dangerous duo of Davith Tueti and Joe Westwood occupying the centres. Jake Thomas beat the most defenders last week down the right wing, and he'll be looking to do the same this evening. And Ethan Morgan completes the starting 15, sweeping across the park at fullback. As far as Impact players go to come on for a side, it does not get much better than this. Connor Chapman, Joe Cowell and Elliot Salt, the replacement front rows, which any side would fear. Gethin Cannon will make his first 15 debut if he comes onto the pitch this evening, accompanied by fellow forward replacement Jake Bond. And they did so well at helping secure the victory last week that Ali Stacey, Brad Morgan and Sam Trod will come off the bench to help try and wrap up the game for Cardiff Met once again. Cian, that is a huge side that Cardiff Met are fielding this evening, a serious statement of intent.
Well, do you know what? At the end of the day, the main thing that sticks out to me there is the change in the front row. They were so dominant in the scrum against Durham, and they've decided to change it up against a very physical Leeds Becket side. But at the end of the day, what we have found with this Cardiff Met side is they are always dominant within the scrum, and they will look to keep that going. Other mentions, Brad Rochik-Evans, top point scorer in BUCS, and he is definitely a danger. He's always danger. He's the main man. And then finally the centres, Joe Westwood and Davis Tueti. I mean, they are a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely, and it looks like we are going to get underway here at Kincoid campus. As we've already said in the build-up to this fixture kicking off, it's a huge deal for either side this evening. Leeds Becket in the hunt for their first victory of the season and their first victory in several months now, which is their last one go back to the previous BUCS Super Rugby season. And it's number 15, Ethan Morgan, who's got the ball in his hand in the middle of the pitch. He's eyeing up where it might go across the park, and we've got a very strong wind that started to come in. Cian, as a back, do you make a decision to make a more conservative kick choice, or do you try and kick it long and hope that the wind catches it as well and put Becket under some serious pressure?
Personally, if you've got the wind behind you, I feel like you need to use it. You put it deep, you chase him down, then you make him kick it out in order to regain the possession.
And just here on this near side to us, Jack Wickham is already eyeing up his first customer of this evening, ready to feel the full impact and force of the Cardiff Met back row. And we are underway here at Kincoid campus. Ethan Morgan kicking us off, and it's well received by the Leeds Becket side. But a penalty straight away for holding on the floor. We spoke about that pressure before the game, and I said it just then. Who's going to be Jack Wickham's first customer of the night? Well, consider them served by the back rower, Cian, because he's just won his side a penalty.
James, at the end of the day, they've put them straight under pressure, straight away, and that is exactly what Danny would have wanted.
They've kicked for the corner early on. This is not just a game about getting points on the board, Cian. This is a game about domination, and we're seeing that from this supposedly driving line-out I'm expecting, as we do see Brandon Harvey thrown up into the air. But unfortunately, the referee is saying that crossing in the path of the line-out means that the ball is turned over, and it's a penalty for Leeds Becket. Cian, that's a disappointing penalty to give away, and I must correct myself, it was Barnaby Waddle who was thrown up in the air. They're a disappointing penalty to give away so early on.
With the ref, he's showing that he's not going to let anything go in this game, and that's something that the Met boys are really going to need to keep an eye on, especially as early as that was.
Great clearance kick from Becket sees them now inside the Cardiff Met half with their own attacking opportunity. It'll be interesting to see what sort of move they try and work off this line out here. The back line sitting very deep in comparison to Mets. Kinneberg with the first throw for Leeds Becket in this fixture, and they are working it nicely back to him again, so the hooker should have the ball in this driving maul, and they're starting to march slowly forward, but it is pulled away from the Cardiff Met team and booted across the pitch. But brilliant received by Ethan Morgan. He's dealt with that cool as you like it, and Joe Westwood the latest to come in and offer his support for his fellow Archer teammate.
Really well done by Morgan there, under a lot of pressure.
Interesting tactic from Leeds Becket so early on, Cian, to opt for that kick rather than try and run a play out of their own half, with the wind blowing against them as well.
Well, we said that the 10 likes to kick before the game, and he's certainly trying to put the Met backs under pressure, and luckily Ethan Morgan was able to meet that challenge.
Freddie Spenceley is certainly no stranger to the ball being kicked off his boot. He's got 18 points so far for Leeds Becket this season. He's their top individual point scorer. The rest of their points coming from a mixture of additions from the rest of their playing 22. Or 23, I should say, Cian. Another successful line out from Leeds Becket, but it is judged to be not a straight throw from the referee, so it means that Cardiff Met will have a scrum right in front of the Met Ultras, which have made their way into the stand this evening. Cian, you were actually worried they weren't going to show up earlier.
I'll tell you what, James, we were getting to about 5 minutes before the game and there was no tunnel made, and then suddenly, like lightning, they were there. I tell you what, I would not want to be a hooker throwing in front of them.
Speaking of lightning, we've got Roma Zhang joining us at half-time. The lightning winger has been electrifying to watch on the wing so far for the Archers this year. Unfortunately ruled out currently through injury, but we're very happy to have him joining us at half-time, so make sure you stick around for that.
it'll be interesting here. Met seem to have set up really wide, looking to get Ewan away. And I think if they can get it to hand, then that will be something that will be able to be exploited.
First big scrum of the game for that Cardiff Met pack with a put-in. Joe Westwood has finally got his hands on the ball, and Jake Thomas looked to have a little snipe through the middle of the park, but he was wrapped up by Jake Scott. Dealt with well by the Becket defence, but Cardiff Met seem to be marching forward with each carry, and now Roderick Evans with the boot will kick it down the pitch. And it's Tyler Olding chasing after it, and he's made the tackle superbly. The hooker chasing that kick down from Roderick Evans. The pressure coming in from the Cardiff Met boys. Surely there must be a penalty in there somewhere. Becket have done well to deal with the pressure, but it is Brandon Hovey again leading the way in that drive to try and retain the ball, and they have done so. Keane, they've turned it over in a really threatening position on the park.
Brilliant clear out. They've turned defence into attack, putting the kick under pressure, and then the clear out was superb.
Unfortunately, pass just slightly forward there from Roderick Evans to Jack Wickham, who was running a very dangerous line. Leeds Becket not happy with the reaction of the Met boys. There'll be no hugs and handshakes until the full-time whistle goes, but until that moment, it's both teams absolutely gunning for it so far in this fixture, Kean.
Do you know what? I'm really noticing some space out wide for Cardiff Met. Our man Moyo is creeping in a lot, and he's leaving a lot of space for Ewan. If Brad Roderick Evans is able to spot that, I really think that's going to be a place that they can exploit.
It is interesting to see the way that Becket have split themselves across the pitch. We could see a blindside pick and carry from Ollie Malarkey. Falcons Academy under-18s experience to his name. He'll certainly want to get his hands on the ball and show what he's all about. But it has worked out to that blindside, and it's none other than Matt Salisbury who kicks it down the pitch, but he seems to have kicked it a little bit too far. He's not factored in the win there, Kean. It's fair to say it's gone way too far and will come all the way back for Cardiff Met's turn at the scrum.
Ethan Morgan could have gone for that ball then, but he was able to read the direction of the ball and let it go out. Many other fullbacks would have gone to catch that, possibly knocking it on and possibly putting on their team under pressure. Really well done there by Morgan.
Now, Kean, as an experienced forward yourself, playing at a very high level, back home in London, you look at the position you're on the pitch now from the scrum. How tempting is it as a number 8 to just grab that ball as it comes to the back and go for it down the blind side?
Do you know what? With the backs pincing in, I would really fancy the number 8 picking it up, bringing in the flankers and drawing out the other number 8, creating more space for the backs and giving it to the 9. I think that's a move I would go for if I was in that position, but we'll see what they do.
Well, the number 8 for Met this evening is Benji Williams. He's got Ospreys and Wales under-20s experience to his name, so he will have played with Cowell and Chapman before, fellow Welsh under-20s players. I believe Westwood is as well, and Westwood is on the ball, supported by his fellow centre, David Tueti. Met playing with a little bit of dangerous ball there. We saw that move from Jake Thomas last week. It almost worked there for Cardiff Met again, and they will go again with their forwards. First off runners from Roy Morgan, the scrum half, but he's worked wide again. Westwood with another intelligent carry, trying to find the gaps in the Becket defence. Another rumble forward from Cardiff Met. That was Ben Murphy this time.
Really positive carries by Cardiff, really put them under pressure.
Charge down chip, though, finds the palms of David Tueti, luckily not the mitts of the Leeds Becket side. And Roderick Evans will go again, running a lovely move. Morgan in a bit of space. He's so nearly found Wickham out wide there. That would have been lovely to see pulled off, Kean.
That's where the danger is. It's out wide, and they played the phases. They weren't getting greedy. They weren't getting that white line fever. They were playing it. They were going through the motions, and so nearly it came off. It was just the execution of that last pass.
We are coming back for a penalty for Cardiff Metropolitan University. It's another one that's been conceded by Leeds Becket in this red zone area of the pitch, and it will be interesting to see what they opt for. They look like they're going for the corner. Kean, would you want a driving ball in this scenario, or would you like to run a fancy backs move that you've been practicing for hours on the training pitch?
Do you know what? With the strength of the Cardiff Met forwards and looking at the scrum in the past few phases, I'd really fancy that driving ball. They've got a strong pack, they've got a good structure, and I'm thinking it's try time here.
Well, Tyler Olding is no stranger to scoring from driving balls. He got 3 in pre-season. And just as Cardiff Met looked to try and set one up, Becket sacked it to the floor. And it means that Cardiff Met have to go from 0. Try and build their own momentum. One-off carries from the forwards have worked really well here, and it's a try for Cardiff Met. The first try in this fixture. A lovely bit of work off the line out that got disrupted by Becket. Cian, what a way to start the match.
That is exactly what you have wanted. Cardiff have started this match superbly. They have been taking the game to Leeds Becket, and they've been using the strength of that forwards to get there. The forwards got them to that position, and I mean, they didn't get greedy. They stayed patient, and that driving maul was an excellent example of how well these forwards have been trained.
Absolutely. Speaking of their training, the shout out should really go to Di Watts. He puts in so many hours with those boys in the strength and conditioning, and he really makes a difference out on the pitch when they come out, because they're filled with such power and such strength. Lots of teams can't actually rival it, and I think that forward pack, and indeed the Loughborough forward pack, probably the top two in the league at the moment. Now, Roderick Evans lining up this kick on the far side. He'll be wanting to build on his tally so far this year. Top point scorer at the moment, and top point scorer of all time, Cian. It's up, and it sailed through. Oh, just off the post there, Cian. I knew he would do it. Deep down inside, I knew he was going to do it. But for a second there, it was quite a hair-raising moment.
I was never in doubt. I mean, Bradley Roderick Evans, he is the man you want over that ball when it comes to any conversion. Top point scorer in BUCS, and he's done it again.
I mean, with that in mind, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, Cian, and I am thankful for Bradley Roderick Evans and the amount of points he's given for Cardiff Met this year. Another deep kick-off from Leeds Becket sees Rory Morgan return that down the middle of the park. And it looks like Salisbury's going to go on a run here, but it is straight into the arms of Roderick Evans, that player we mentioned a moment ago. He's called the mark, he'll call his team back, and they'll go again, Cian.
Super Brad BUCS has done it again. He's calming it down, he's controlling the game, and Met are making it back on top. And if I was Leeds, I'm very surprised they've kicked there and not kept it ball in hand.
A little bit of a banana kick there. You never know where those are going to bounce. Jake Thomas was the first one chasing it down. But lovely bit of work from Becket on that far side wing to us. They've kept the ball despite the pressure. But Cardiff Met are certainly flying up in defence. It was Ben Murphy there making the big hit. Sprinting forwards, the fastest I've seen a prop run in a while. And a lovely box kick from Winterburn. But it is straight out again, potentially not factoring in for that wind, Cian. It's going to be a big element in today's game.
James, I just can't understand why they keep giving the ball away. You saw a really strong run there by the Becket loosehead, who was able to make metres. If they keep ball in hand and keep putting Met under pressure, surely something will come. But they keep kicking it away, they keep losing possession, and it keeps putting the momentum back on Met.
I mean, we can see the direction of the wind, or we could, from the linesman's flag there. It was howling across the pitch to the right-hand side of us. So it shows you just how strong the wind will be in dictating where the kicks will end up. And Met have opted for a driving maul here. They're not letting the backs have that ball at all. They want to keep it in that pack, and they want to go down the blind side. But a little chip over the top from Morgan. Thomas was chasing with optimism. But again, Becket scoop it up and look to clear their lines. A little bit too quickly for the referee.
Becket are loving a kick today. They are really eager to get it in that Cardiff Met half. Just keep the ball in hand, keep calm, and it will come.
Becket potentially looking for the boot more often than not, Cian, in this game, just so they can try and score some more points more regularly. I mean, so far this season, they've only scored 91 points versus Cardiff Met's 208 points so far this season. I mean, the difference is colossal because it's over twice as many points.
Listen, James, I know we're early into the game, but I've seen some really strong runners from Leeds Becket, and I do think they have powerful intent in there. We haven't seen the wingers get on the ball yet. If they make it through the phases, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I really feel like they can do some damage.
Is it because you're a forward and you get really frustrated when your fly half kicks it away?
Do you know what? This is rugby. This isn't tennis, James.
Another secure line out there from the Archers. Sees Barnaby Waddle claim it. He's got the Gorilla Glue on his hands this week, not Barney Langton. And it wasn't going anywhere else except down for a Met driving maul. And now Morgan sends this one quite high. And again, it's caught the wind, so it's bounced around everywhere. And unfortunately, the Cardiff Met player's been caught up in the midst of it and given away a penalty for being offside from the kick.
A little bit too eager there, James. They're wanting to get into them. They've got the momentum. They've got the front foot. But they need to calm it now. They can't be getting ahead of themselves, giving away these silly penalties.
We did mention Freddie Spenceley and how many points he's scored so far, for Leeds Becket this season. He's already straight away stamped his mark down. He's had a word with Captain Hancock and said, look, this is what we're going for. This is time now to get our own points on the board. We're not falling any further behind in this fixture. Is that the right decision from Leeds Becket?
Do you know what? They're not getting anywhere near the Cardiff Met try line, and if they're going to keep slowly ticking up the points, then, I mean, it's certainly a tactic, and we'll see how it works out for them.
Well, we're just around 14 minutes played in this fixture, and Cardiff Met are currently 7 points to 0 up against Leeds Becket here on Kincoid campus, as the entirety of Kincoid falls silent. And that one certainly caught the wind successfully for Leeds Becket, because it's flown through the post, and Spenceley gets them on the board. It's now Cardiff Metropolitan 7, Leeds Becket University 3. They have finally arrived, Kian.
I mean, as I was saying, Met needs to be really careful here now. We've seen that Becket can kick from range, and that will be a danger and something that they'll definitely be looking to exploit, especially against the wind in this half.
Morgan again with the kickoff, very nearly claimed there from Ewan Bowden.
Arguably a take out in the air there.
Well, he did go up and he did make a fair challenge for the ball, but it was Leeds Becket that managed to scoop it up. But Brandon Harvey charged the ball down, but the referee will come back for an advantage.
Brandon Harvey is a nines nightmare. He's constantly on it as soon as they're looking to box kick. What Becket should have realised is they need to set up when they're going to box, because Brandon Harvey and all the Met second rows are lurking round those edges.
He had the most carries in that fixture against Durham, Kian, and he certainly loves getting himself around the park, not only in defence but also in attack. He's a big lad, a big, strong ball-carrying lad. He adds a lot of physical prowess onto this team, doesn't he?
He certainly does. He is the epitome of an archer's forward. Big, strong, and loves to get involved. Also hates it when they tend to kick it away.
Until we get confirmation, I think it's just you with that opinion, Kian. But Cardiff Met again with a dominant scrum push, but the referee is just calling for a reset and wheeling so far. It's peeling round the corner at the moment, of Matt Yarwin Scott's side. There, the tight head prop pushing his opposite number back. Leeds Becket seemingly crumbling under the pressure of the Cardiff Met scrum.
They seem to be, and Cardiff Met are bringing the game to them.
Well, Leeds Becket on the pudding for this scrum. They've loaded pretty much all of their backs, bar Mongan Moyo, who's sitting on the blind side, but they're all waiting in the open side, ready for that ball to come out nice and quickly, just so that they can clear their lines potentially.
Certainly. I mean, it's kind of what Leeds Becket need now. They need the game to slow down. Cardiff Met were bringing the game to them constantly, and I think this break is just what they need.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke in the build-up. They prefer a slightly slower game, which will come into their own in these winter months as the pitches get boggier, evenings get wetter and greasier, so there's not really much opportunity to throw the ball around as much, Kian. Do you think they'll try and dictate the tempo of this game through set pieces?
I think definitely. I think that's where their strong points lie, and currently physically up front they're really struggling.
But again, they crumble underneath the pressure of a Cardiff Met scrum, and it's none other than Benji Williams, who comes away bounding forwards with the ball. It's worked out to Joe Westwood, who just knocked it on. But the referee has given an offside against the Leeds Becket side. It will be a penalty to Cardiff Met. Kian, do you go for the post or do you go for the corner? Don't look at the pitch.
Do you know what? I would go for the post. I would carry on that lead. I'd carry on that momentum. But it seems they have other ideas, and Ethan Morgan has decided to go for the corner and put under Leeds Becket a little bit more pressure.
I hate to disappoint you like that, Kian. They aren't listening to you, but they are going for the corner because they do want to try and rumble over again for another try. Potentially Tyler Olding chomping at the bit to get another driving maul try added onto his CV for this year. A successful pick there from Bertie Taylor in the air, and there's some sort of trickery down that blindside because Cardiff Met have gone over for a second try in this fixture. Fantastic work there from the Archer pack. It is none other than that number 8, Benji Williams, who started off this move, who boulders through for another try. It's now Cardiff Met 12, Leeds Becket University 3.
Lovely little set piece there. They've seen that Leeds are ready and to defend that maul, and they've noticed the blind side's open, and they've exploited it. They've gone over, and it's a brilliant try from the Archers.
It's from a similar position to the previous kick for Bradley Roderick Evans, so are you confident they can make it 14 points to 3 in these early exchanges, Kian?
Do you know what? Super BUCS Brad. I back him all the way, and it's a tough kick, but I think he's got it within his locker.
Well, we're just shy of 20 minutes played in this fixture, and we have got a score update from across BUCS Super Rugby. It's 35 minutes gone in the Cardiff-Nottingham fixture, and Cardiff Uni are down currently 3 points to 14. That would be a huge victory for the Nottingham boys, Kian.
It certainly would, and it is very surprising that Cardiff are starting to take their foot off the gas maybe a little bit.
An unsuccessful kick there from Roderick Evans means that the score remains Cardiff Metropolitan University 12, Leeds Becket University 3, here at Kincoid Campus's Rugby 1 pitch in the BUCS Super Rugby fixture between these two coveted sides. Plenty of shouting around there from the Archers, communicating well, and Jake Thomas was the one to collect the ball and carry it out of the Met 22. Yadwin Scott, the latest to carry, and the rain is thrashing down, and the penalty has been awarded to Leeds Becket. We've seen a turn in the weather. Is this a turn in the game, Kian?
Well, Leeds Becket will certainly be hoping so. I mean, again, another silly penalty for the Archers to be given away there. They need to keep on that penalty count. They're in control. Calm it down and let the game play the way it should be played.
They're certainly opting for the tactic to just chip away at the scoreboard, because they're opting for the kick again, Kian. They're looking to get 6 points now in this first half and close the gap to Cardiff Metropolitan University. It will be a 6-point gap, and all of a sudden this game is blown wide open, because if they score a converted try, they'll take the lead.
Certainly, and I'm going to think we're going to start to see more and more kicks now that the rain is coming down. The ball's going to be slipperier. It's going to be more difficult for those driving mauls, and I think we're going to see a lot of this game today from Leeds Becket.
The ball not quite sitting on the tee for Spenceley. I wonder if her friend might come along to help him with holding the ball still. And the wind behind him not quite helping the fly half out this time around. So the score does remain at Cardiff Metropolitan University 12, Leeds Becket University 3 here in the BUCS Super Rugby fixture on Kincoid Campus's Rugby 1 pitch. Those are 3 points that they'll possibly rue later in the game, Kian.
Do you know what? It was a difficult kick there, and will that come back to bite them? We're going to have to wait and see.
A little bit of kick tennis going on here in the middle of the park, and it will be restarted again by Ethan Morgan. Little bit of a fumble there from Salisbury, but it's gone backwards, and he'll now return it, inviting Ewan Bowden to have a go himself. And now Winterburn. Will he kick? Will he pass? Will he run? He chooses the pass. He's found Ollie Malarkey. He's found some space, and he's managed to get it out wide. It was that number 11, Jody Devine, the top try scorer at the moment for Leeds Becket. Almost found himself in a little bit of space, but again, Ben Murphy was the one flying up in defence for Cardiff Met, making the first big hit, spurring his team on to do the same. And a brilliantly high ball, nearly caught there, nearly caught again. It's evaded everyone. It will fall to David Tuetti. That was a very threatening kick from Spenceley Kean.
I mean, again, I don't understand why they're kicking it away. They showed what they can do with ball in hand. Look how many metres they made there with what I thought was going to be a bit of, hesitation from the 9. He holds the play, he waits to draw the man, and then they get in and make ground.
The wind playing havoc at the moment here on Kincoy campus. The ball went everywhere there in the air, and it's Spenceley's little punt through the middle of the park that got charged down by a Met player, and it's bounced out into touch for a Leeds Becket line out just inside their own half. So the key here now, Cian, that's going to be a tongue twister for later in this fixture. The key, Cian, here will be for Becket to keep the ball in hand, would you say?
Definitely. I think keeping the ball in hand, the only reason I would kick is to put the Cardiff Met under pressure. So that's deep kicks into that danger zone, down after the 22, and regaining the ball that way. Otherwise, keep the ball in hand, keep it simple.
Well, it's Charlie Mears who claimed the ball, which flew to him in a flash, just as we've experienced our own first flash of the evening. A flash of lightning just behind all of the fans that have come out here onto Rugby 1. And it is Devine who was trying to use his dancing feet to work his way through the Cardiff Met defence. But he is brought down eventually, and the Leeds Becket attack is halted. Tyler Olding is over the top of the ball. Will he win the penalty? No. He's had to let that one go. Winterburn, a fumble there from Spenceley. Sees the knock on there from the fly-off just as Becket looked to get a bit of momentum going.
Absolutely brilliant pressure put on there by the Archers, really coming up and meeting them in defence. We saw a big shot earlier on, and then the Leeds Becket backs just can't handle it.
It appears to be that Devine's footwork was just so fast and frantic that even his own boot couldn't keep up with him, Cian. He had to go and retrieve that one quickly from the Cardiff Met backline. Slightly awkward conversation to have, I'm sure. But you've got a scrum on the right-hand side in the middle of the park. It's stopped raining. The wind is everywhere. We don't know whether it's coming or going, Cian. If you're out on that pitch, what's the call that you're making?
Like I'm saying, keep it simple, truck it up the middle, draw the men in, go through a couple more phases, and gaps will open up for those wide men.
Well, it's just in front, slightly off to the left, I should say, of those Cardiff Met Ultras who are out in full force, singing their side. They really are the 16th man, and they'll be the 9th man driving in the scrum, won't they, Cian?
I'll tell you what, those Leeds Becket players will be fully aware of their presence on this pitch.
And it is a slight surge forward from the Cardiff Met pack, but the ref says, let's go, let's get on with it. And Morgan does, because he's kicked it down the side. Is it going to be Jake Thomas who pounces on it for a try? It is. It's a wonderful piece of vision from the scrum half, Rory Morgan. A brilliant chase from Jake Thomas, and a fantastic third try for Cardiff Met in this fixture. It's now Cardiff Met 17, Leeds Becket 3.
Jake Thomas has been doing what he's been doing all season. All he needs is a little bit of space in behind, and he will exploit you. I thought the chance had gone when he decided to keep kicking it, but obviously I'm not a winger. He knows better than me, and he's able to slide in for the third try of the night.
We've got a replay of it coming through now. It was a brilliant piece of vision, as I say, from the scrum half, Rory Morgan, but great lightning speed from Jake Thomas down that blind side.
I mean, it's a mixture of heads-up rugby and just sheer raw speed from Jake Thomas. What an impact he has had on this squad this season.
And much like the intensity of the wind ebbing and flowing, the intensity of the rain has come back. And I hope it doesn't put Roderick Evans off his kick again. And the kick has sailed high, but it sailed just wide of the posts. So the score remains at Cardiff Metropolitan University 17, Leeds Becket University 3. Cian, Leeds Becket will be desperate to get on the scoreboard again.
I mean, if Met score another try now in this first half, you're really going to be starting to ask questions about Leeds Becket, and be careful that the Archers don't pull it away.
Almost spilt by Rory Morgan in the reception. He did well to keep that ball in his hand, and it's gone high and long to Malarkey, who's got it back into the middle to find his 15 Salisbury. He looked to try and find his way through the Met defence, but no, he's just met with hard, heavy tackles. Oh, it's a lovely charge down there from Wickham. Great pressure on the fly half, Freddie Spenceley. And more great pressure coming in from Cardiff Met. Ben Murphy chasing down Winterburn to halt.
This thunderous defence by Met is something to behold.
I like that weather pun from you, Cian. That's the
I
first
learned
one. I like
from the best.
Roderick Evans, a little chip over the top. It almost comes off for him. It did come off for him, but a slight knock-on from Joe Westwood. I say slight, it was a knock-on. But the knock-on, first of all, came from Leeds Becket. So it will be another scrum put in for Cardiff Metropolitan University right in front of us. Kian, we are about to be treated to a show here.
I mean, we are going to be able to see the Cardiff Met forwards in full force here.
Just looking at the shininess of Tyler Olding's boots and Barnaby Waddle's boots, do you think that actually gives them extra pushing power? I
mean, definitely. When you look at the boots as a forward, you want as bright as you possibly can get.
It's almost running on the same mantra of Bingo Ivanisevic, unfortunately out injured and not able to feature in this fixture. Look good, play good.
Look good, play good,
play
and
good.
Do your run-throughs in Gucci flip-flops.
It was a fiercely contested scrum there, solid as a rock, but the ball has worked out to the backs and it's worked to Roderick Evans in some space. Rory Morgan was the support on the inside. He's hurtling towards the line. He's brought down, but he's not brought down soon enough. It will be yet another try for Cardiff Met. The bonus point try for Cardiff Met, Kian. That was superb.
The skies are opening and the gaps are opening, James. Cardiff are really in full flow now, and Leeds Becket are going to need something really special to stop this side.
We've got a replay of that coming in now. We can see the great communication from that back line. It looked like something straight off the training pitch, and we've seen it work last week where they did something similar with Jake Thomas sniping up in the middle with Rory Morgan's vision coming in again. But that time around it was the vision of the all-time leading BUCS Super Rugby point scorer, Bradley Roderick Evans, who saw the hole, looped around the pitch, and Morgan was there in support. Well-deserved try for the scrum half, you might say, Kian.
When you've got a 9 and 10 combination that are able to look up and read the game, as well as Bradley Roderick Evans and Rory Morgan, you're always going to be on the front foot.
And with the rain hurtling down, Roderick Evans slots the conversion kick and he makes the scores. Cardiff Metropolitan University 24, Leeds Becket University 3. Kian, it's an awfully long way to come down the motorway just to score 3 points. They desperately need a score, a converted score, to get back into this game.
Do you know what? Those early minutes of the game were where the points could be had for Leeds Becket and their game plan. Now with the rain coming down, the momentum against them, you really have to start worrying.
Benji Williams came under significant pressure there, but the strength of the Ospreys and Wales under-20s player means that Met retain the ball. Another flash of lightning there, lighting up the pitch, much as Rory Morgan has just done, and he will try the box kick away, and it's charged down by a Becket player. Does this mean it's a Cardiff Met line out? I'm waiting for the linesman's hand, and he does agree with me. Kian, this is a good platform for Cardiff Met to clear their lines deep back into the Becket half.
Well, Met have got to taste their own medicine with that charge down there. Leeds Becket need to capitalise on this now. They need to play it simple, and they need to try and set a platform in order to get some points back, because as you said, it's a long way to come for 3 points.
It's not just the roar of the thunder and the howling of the rain here at Kincoy campus filling the sounds, it's the roar of the Cardiff Met Ultras, despite any conditions, singing through it and getting behind their team. Unfortunately, the line out there not thrown in straight, so it means that Cardiff Met have given up possession back to Leeds Becket, and Becket will have a scrum about 15 metres out, Kian, or 10 metres out, you should say, from the Cardiff Met line. These are dangerous tries, especially with someone with the quality of Mongan Moyo sitting out on this wide wing here. Kick the ball across the field to him, throw it out wide through the hands. What would you do?
Again, I may be boring, I may be a forward, but set the foundations and let Moyo fly once there is space out wide.
Becket throwing all forwards, all hands on deck in this line out. It's a beautiful trick play there. It's the number 8 Ollie Malarkey who collects the ball from a short throw from the newly introduced Kinneberg into this starting lineup. A great bit of interchange from the two Becket players sees him crash over for their first score of the game. Kian, we said how important it was for them to get a score at some point soon, and they have gone and done exactly that.
Do you know what? Met did it in the earlier try. Sorry if you can't hear us. The hail is coming down at us and I can barely hear myself speak. Met did it in an earlier try where they noticed the Leeds Becket and how they were set up the line out, and Leeds Becket have come back and done just that. They have set up a set play that's obviously been prepared in training, and they have exploited the weakness, and they have got themselves back into this game.
I said it last week and I'll say it again. I know I overused my phrases, Kean. This is biblical. As the kick sails through the uprights, it's an extra 2 points for Leeds Becket, and it means that the score now reads Cardiff Met 24, Leeds Becket 10. They are slowly clawing their way back into this fixture, and we're potentially looking at a change of the winds as we've seen a change in conditions. Ethan Morgan will be looking to kick this with all of his might, Kean, to try and get that as far away from his halfway line as possible. It's been collected well by the Becket side, and Winterburn will set up for a box kick. It'll be interesting to see with the wind just how far it flies through the Kincoid air. Oh, a charge down kick there in the middle of the park. Ethan Morgan tried to return it, but Becket were able to put up a good jump and block that ball from travelling any further forwards, but they have knocked it on in the return.
Great defence by Met again, really physical, meeting them at the game line.
We have started to see the dispersal of some fans who have come down to support the boys in this fixture, Kean, but they haven't even moved. I can still see a sea of ironed and freshly pressed chinos accompanied with a Cardiff Met waterproof coat, and they will keep cheering their side on in this fixture, Kean. They are relentless.
I mean, they may not have as fresh a chinos as you, James, but they certainly are relentless. Standing out there, sun, rain or shine, the ultras are here to back the boys. And they've spotted the space in behind here, Leeds Becket, and I mean the conditions are just horrible now. I can barely see the player out in front of me.
Cardiff Met now have the line out just inside their own half here on Kincoid campus. We've seen the conditions worsen as this game's gone on, but the Cardiff Met play has certainly not worsened in any way, and they've set up a lovely driving maul here just inside their own half, and they'll be keen to march that up the pitch as quickly as possible and as far as they can.
You know what? In
But
these conditions, they need to keep the ball in hand.
the ball has dropped to the floor. It is punted along the floor. It's almost rolled to the try line, and it is dotted down, so it will be a 22 dropout. We apologise for any disturbance in the sound there, as you can see on your pictures, due to the immense rain that we've experienced. We almost lost comms there for a second. I hope you can still hear me in this fixture. And Leeds Becket will look to kick us off again. The referee is calling a scrum now to Leeds Becket. He will retain possession after what has felt like an age probably for them out in those horrible conditions. Becket will certainly want to try and restart their game and get as far up the pitch as possible, as quickly as possible, because this weather is torrential and they won't want to be camped down in their own 22 for much longer.
I mean, at the end of the day, Met are really going to need to take it to them now. It's horrible conditions. It's going to need to be a game of simple rugby. On paper, this suits Leeds Becket.
And a free kick has been conceded by Cardiff Met at the scrum. An early shove coming in there from the Met pack, and the ball is tossed from Winterburn to Spenceley, who will try and kick the ball as far away from his own line as possible, hoping that the wind will carry it as well. He's gone for the high kick though. He's looking to challenge Jake Thomas, who's caught it well, and he's slid along the pitch. It's so greasy and wet out there now. And Ethan Morgan looks to clear their lines. He'll give it straight back to Salisbury and Spenceley and ask them to go again.
Very interesting. Both teams are looking to put each other under the pressure here. And these conditions are absolutely horrible. James, I don't know about you, but I'm struggling to see the players out the pitch, and heaven knows what it must be like for those men out there.
Cardiff Met have the line out now, just outside their own 22. And they have secured the ball well. They've gone for their own trick play to try and work it down the blind side. It's Benji Williams there, trying to do exactly the same as Ollie Malarkey has done just 10 minutes ago. We're into the final moments here of this first half at Kincoid campus. And Met are simply picking and driving with the ball, but a penalty has been conceded, going straight off of your feet at the ruck. The referee isn't happy with them, so they've handed the possession back to Leeds Becket once again, and Becket Kean have an opportunity to clear their lines.
They do. They have an opportunity in the dying embers of this half to get points on the doors. I mean, we're going to now see a lot of mistakes from both teams, a lot of drop balls, a lot of off the conditions. The pitch is becoming a swimming pool.
The pitch is indeed becoming a swimming pool. At this rate, Kean, we're going to need canoes to get home, let alone our legs and our cars. We can again see just how far out wide Mongan Moyo is sitting for this Becket side, but the ball has gone arrears. It's straight into the hands of Jack Wickham, who's looking to soldier his way through the middle of the Leeds Becket defensive line. Quick ball for Cardiff Met moving forward now. Tyler Olding on the ball with the latest charge. Another huge carry with Benji Williams, this time the man with the ball. The Cardiff Met forwards surging further and further forwards, ever closer to the Leeds Becket try line. Murphy again with the latest carry. Has he made it to the line? The ball is at the base of the ruck and the referee has called for a knock-on. That is so unfortunate for the Met boys.
Really well played by the Met boys there. They're playing the conditions, they're picking and going. They're not trying anything fancy. Really brilliantly done.
And the referee has blown the whistle for the half-time break here. Cardiff Met lead 24 points to 10 against Leeds Becket University in this BUCS Super Rugby clash. And I am pleased to be joined up here for half-time through none other than electrifying winger Roma Zheng. Roma, I'm just going to start off with saying how happy I am to see you, because I've missed seeing you out there on that pitch. I've missed having you out there scoring tries for Cardiff Met. So, first of all, give me an update on what's going on with you.
Just been a slight SC injury, picked it up at Hartbury. It was actually the first carry of the game, wasn't ideal, but it's been a frustrating journey back, but we're hoping that Loughborough's looking quite likely.
And what have you made of this game so far, Roma? Obviously the conditions, as I've said earlier, have been biblical. Do you enjoy watching a game like this rather than playing in it?
It does make you feel a little bit more happy that you're not on the pitch and you're up in the stands. But it's definitely hard to play in these conditions, but I'm thankful that we're up in the stands.
And I want to take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about, are there any unsung heroes in the club that aren't out on that pitch this evening, that with this little half-time gig that we've given you, Roma, that you want to just give a special mention to, give some thanks to?
Well, like some players.
Sorry?
Some players, or
players and coaches and staff, people we might not see out on that this beautiful green pitch / swimming pool.
Oh, well, unsung heroes, you have to always point towards Amber. the person who just runs everything really. This club wouldn't be able to run without her, so she always deserves something. In terms of players, I think Ewan Guy being missed today, he's had a ridiculous season and really stated his role in the team, and I think they're my unsung heroes.
And what game have you enjoyed watching this season or playing in? We'll start with playing. What's been your favourite game to play in so far this season?
I'd say Swansea, the first game, definitely.
Why did you enjoy that one the most? Was it because you got a meat pie, or?
Yeah, because I scored. To be honest. But no, everything seemed to click. It was just nice having a tough pre-season and then coming into the first game and everything really gelling together, and the boys really playing some nice free-flowing rugby.
Excellent. And what about watching? Because you've watched a couple of games now, unfortunately, from the sidelines. Are there any that particularly stand out for you? This one can be included?
No, this one's not included. I'm cold and wet. But no, I think last game was really good. It was really good. Everything just seems to be a very dominant performance, and I'd never really was worried that it was ever going to not go our way.
And looking out onto this pitch now, we've seen that Cardiff Met pretty much come straight back out. What do you think was said in that half-time team talk by Danny Milton, Ian Gardner and Alan Williams, and indeed the whole coaching setup at Cardiff Met?
I'm not sure anyone could get some words out of this weather, but if they would have just been saying, they would have said play this to the conditions and just make it difficult for them. Put them down in their 22 and make it difficult for them to leave.
Now, before you leave me, Roma, and you go back out there into the elements and you leave me from my lovely box little gantry I have here, what do you think Met needs to keep doing in the second half, and are they going to win?
Oh, 100% they're going to win. I have no doubt about that. But I think they need to just stick to their kicking game, put the 15s and the back three under pressure, and just have a good kick chase that we have done in recent weeks. I think we'll be okay.
And just as quickly as you've arrived here, I'm just going to have to say goodbye to you, Roma. Thank you so much for joining me up here in the gantry. It's now time to get back underway here at Kincoid campus on the Rugby 1 pitch. We can see the frustration from the Becket fly half. Freddie Spenceley stamping the pitch just to try and get some drainage in it. And he's kicked it straight into the palms of Ben Murphy. He's not knocked that ball on. This is going to be a difficult game now for ball in hand rugby, which is something that Cian has spoken so passionately about in the build-up. And with that in mind, I'm going to invite him back in now. Cian, did you enjoy your little half-time break out of the rain? Unfortunately, temporarily, we have lost co-coms with Cian, which I am gutted about because he knows a little bit more about rugby than I do, I think. But we will rejoin the action as Cardiff Met look to clear their lines through Rory Morgan. He's gone for the box kick. It's gone nice and high. It's going to put Jody Devine under some significant pressure. But the winger didn't need to deal with it because the ball went straight out into touch. And now Cardiff Met will have to defend the line out here. Nelly Kinneberg, the new addition to the starting lineup at the hooker position. We await with anticipation to see where Becket is going to send this ball. It should be to the front. It is to the front.
Really good line out there by Becket.
Easily into the hands of Ollie Malarkey, and I can actually hear you, Cian, which must mean that you're back with me.
Thank God, James. I know the viewers have been waiting eagerly.
Spenceley has got the ball out now, and it's with his centre partnership, who've been brought down by Dav Tueti. The ball popping out like a pinball, and a penalty called, and it's taken quickly by Morgan, but the referee will call him back because he wasn't ready, or he wasn't in a position where the penalty offence was given. The referee calling it for offside against Leeds Becket University. And now Bradley Roderick Evans is going for the kick. It's an interesting decision in these conditions, Cian.
I mean, we've gone from the fortress of Kincoid campus to the swamp of Kincoid campus. I'm not surprised by this decision. It is a difficult kick, but who have we been backing all day? It is obviously Super, BUCS, Brad, and I think he'll slot it over.
I think we've certainly we witnessed a very quick half-time turnaround from Cardiff. We witnessed a very quick half-time turnaround there from Cardiff Met, and I don't think it gave them enough time to grab the end of garden forks and stick them into their boots, but that's exactly what they will have needed to have done in these conditions.
Do you know what? If you're a rugby player playing out here, you did not want to be chatting for a long while. You wanted to be getting out on that pitch, getting warm again, and what you want now is a full-time whistle, really. You want to get out of these conditions.
So Roderick Evans lining up the kick for Cardiff Met, and it's sailing up through the air. The wind has gone, so there's no support from the elements, but he doesn't need it anyway. The super boot of Bradley Roderick Evans has got more points for him in his BUCS Super Rugby campaign and more points for his Cardiff Met side in this fixture. The score now reads Cardiff Metropolitan 27, Leeds Becket University 10.
I mean, you're still seeing smiles on faces. The Met boys are still enjoying themselves out there despite the conditions, and I mean, you just look at the ball now. The 10's trying to bounce the ball in order to get ready for a kick, and the ball is just not having it at all.
Great hands there from Barnaby Waddle to scoop up the greasy, low punted ball. And his fellow archers come in support, rushing to his aid so they can clear this up and get back on with it.
I think the ref should have looked there for a slight offside there, but Met are really playing the conditions now.
Met have the advantage here though. Tyler Olding scooped up the ball from a Leeds Becket knock-on. Let's see what Rory Morgan will be able to build. It's Yarwith Scott drives the ball forwards further up the pitch for Met. And again, Roderick Evans, he's looking into that far side of the pitch. It was wide open. His winger was screaming for it. Bowden was chasing after it like a cheetah. He put Moyo under some significant pressure there, but the Leeds Becket winger dealt with it well, and it will be a goal line dropout.
I think we're going to be seeing that now, kicking into the corners. The ball's clearly bouncing better down in the Leeds Becket half, and that's something that Met are going to exploit.
So Becket get us back underway. A long clearing goal line dropout goes straight out into touch, which means that play will be brought back. Be interesting to see what Cardiff Met opt for here. They have asked for the scrum. They're going for the scrum input. They are 5 metres away from the Leeds Becket try line. Kean, it will be interesting to see if they can boulder their way over for yet another score.
I think that's the correct decision. Line out is getting greasy now. The ball is being very hard to handle. I think the scrum setting that foundation, getting it in the forwards and driving it over is the correct decision.
So far, no changes to either side out on the pitch currently. Cardiff Met, obviously, with all of the momentum from that first half, and they probably wouldn't have wanted to change it for that reason. Ethan Morgan has changed the side that he's on. He's switched across this blind side.
They're looking blind.
But Benji Williams has picked and got himself into the open. He's driving forward. He's surely over for a score. But the ball has been held up. And again, it will be a Leeds Becket goal line dropout. I wish we could offer him some TMO.
Do you know what? From this angle, James, it did look like a try. The grounding did look good. The ref was a lot closer, though. But Benji, he fancied that, didn't he? He's a true number 8, and he wanted to get more on the score sheet.
He'll certainly be looking to use his entire 6'4" frame when driving the ball like that towards scoring. And a better goal line dropout kick from the Leeds Becket side means that Cardiff Met will have a line out now outside of the Leeds Becket 22, away from their red zone. So it'll be interesting to see what the Archers decide to do from this position. Kian, do you want ball in hand now with the conditions so greasy, or will you look for the kicks more?
Do you know what? I sound like a broken record now. I must sound like one of the most boring rugby commentators on earth, but I just think keep it safe, keep it simple, and get the points. I think Jake Thomas is looking like he wants the ball. However, I did see him limping to his position now, so hopefully everything's okay there.
We do see our first change of the game. Ali Stacey is brought into the fray, and Rory Morgan makes way for the replacement scrum half. With just over 7 minutes played in this second half. A brilliant catch there from Brandon Harvey. Set up a lovely driving maul, but it is brought out by Ben Murphy, and Jake Thomas is the one that's driving further forwards. He wasn't held in the tackle, so he went for a second attempt. Waddle now finds himself driving further forwards for Met. Again, not held in the tackle. The loose ball pinging everywhere though, and the referee calls for a knock-on, and Leeds Becket will again have the ball. Cian, Cardiff Met can't afford to keep making these mistakes and handing the ball back to Becket.
They can't at all, but until Becket start capitalising on these mistakes, I think Cardiff Met won't be too worried. Becket, whenever they've been given the chance, they haven't been able to execute. They may prove me wrong now, they may have identified the weaknesses in the Met lineup, but only time will tell.
We've got some scores coming in from across BUCS Super Rugby. Hartbury are currently beating Loughborough in that huge fixture 29-14, Cian, and the score is now 24-14 to Cardiff University after trailing Nottingham at first. So that is a big statement from the local rivals for Cardiff Met, and Durham find themselves 7-0 up against Exeter. That's the latest from that fixture. But here at Kincoid, it's 27-10 to Cardiff Met, and they are looking to attack again. Tueti is pacing after this ball, but it has just bobbled away from him and into touch. So Leeds Becket will have a line out just outside their own 22. And Cian, they're back exactly where they started just a few phases ago.
It's like I was saying, Leeds Becket just aren't able to capitalise on these Cardiff Met mistakes, and if they're not able to capitalise them, Cardiff Met need not worry about them. The only people who are going to be annoyed about these mistakes are the coaches.
The Cardiff Met Ultras not helping the Leeds Becket hooker, Kinnenberg. And the ball certainly not being helped. It's bobbling around everywhere on that floor. Who's it going to be scooped up by? It's scooped up by a Becket player. A purple shirt pouncing towards it. And securing that ball. So now Winterburn will look to clear Becket away from their own 22, but the ball is high. It's not got a lot of distance, and it hit the head of Waddle, and it's claimed by Becket. Ball out of the ruck, so Cardiff Met will pounce. It's a little bit of scrappy, messy play at the moment, Cian.
It is, but that's to be expected with the conditions. Interesting there with Leeds' last line out. They played it short, they played it to hand, they played it to the front. They really are going safe now.
An offside call there against Cardiff Met. Winterburn looked to take it quickly, but just like Morgan when he tried to take it quickly, the referee calls him back because it wasn't quite taken at the mark, so he's not satisfied, and the play will come back so that Leeds Becket can do their penalty properly. And it's Salisbury with the ball in hand, who's definitely eyeing up a long clearance.
Do you know what? I'm really liking that by Winterburn though, because Becket are needing to get some pace into the game, get some energy into the game, and if that had come off, that would have put Met on the back foot and really put the emphasis back on Leeds Becket.
As we mentioned in this coverage, Winterburn, of course, bringing in Premiership Cup rugby experience to his side. He'll be looking to utilise that experience in his Leeds Becket side to hopefully try and guide them towards their first victory of the season, and indeed their first victory since towards the end of last season's campaign. So a long drought at the moment for Leeds Becket on the victory terms. And a not straight throw at the line out is certainly not going to help that cause, but it will definitely help Cardiff Met in their cause as they search for a record-equalling 5th victory in a row in BUCS Super Rugby and send them on the way to going for potentially number 6, number 7. And am I getting carried away, Cian, if I go for number 8?
I mean, if they're playing like this, they can blow any team out the water. They're set now. Everyone is on the same page, something they struggled with in the first few weeks this season. Everyone's playing from the same handbook, and they are a joy to watch now.
Bonus point wrapped up in the first half, of course. 4 tries for Cardiff Met, 2 Leeds Becket's singular try. Interesting to see here that Ethan Morgan has stepped in at first receiver. Bradley Roderick Evans is sitting just behind him. Ewan Bowden out much wider. And Joe Westwood has also vacated the pitch. We're just awaiting to see which back has replaced him. But the attention is really on that scrum, because Cardiff Met have shown dominance throughout the fixture, Cian. But as these conditions change, you as a forward will know this, it gets much harder to actually get a drive going.
I'll tell you what, those front rows are going to need to get used to being in that scrum, because I think in the last embers of this game, that's all we're going to be seeing.
It's now 29-16. Hartbury are leading Loughborough in that fixture as we turn my attention straight back to this one because Cardiff Met have had an excellent drive from the scrum. Cian, we spoke about how difficult it might be, but Benji Williams has flown away from that scrum where Met absolutely dominated the Becket pack.
Benji Williams is having a stormer.
The ball slightly going out of hand, and it's number 23, Sam Trod. He's the one that's come on to replace Joe Westwood in that back line. Morgan looking for a little chip over the top. It's not quite worked, but Cardiff Met have the penalty and will come back from that advantage from wheeling at the scrum. And Stacey's gone quick. He's gone quick here, and he's trying to find a hole, and he's looking for support desperately from the Archers. And it's Bowden flying down that far side wing, supported by Olding successfully. Cardiff Met need to keep cool in this scenario. They cannot afford to give the ball straight back to Leeds Becket as Murphy surges forward once again. But another penalty is conceded for holding on the floor by Cardiff Met. Cian, it's another opportunity in the red zone where Cardiff Met come away with nothing.
Brilliant play by Stace there, and they were getting it, and they just needed to hold on to that ball. The conditions are not great at all, but you need to play the conditions, and you can't let these many chances get away from you. If Leeds Becket are able to grow back into the game, these will be a lot of chances ruined.
Multiple changes coming onto the park for Leeds Becket. Number 21, Spencer Cope, and number 20, Ben Pettifer, are making their way onto the pitch. Pettifer, a business management student at Leeds Becket University, and brings Northumberland under-20s experience into the fray. Spencer Cope, a 22-year-old strength and conditioning master's student and England 20s experience. And just leaving the pitch now for Cardiff Met.
I think over there in the distance I can see Captain Fantastic Joe Cowell coming on.
It is, and Bowden's just gone to the side for a little bit of physio tension. I'm unsure as to whether he's going off. But we have got a number of players there on the sideline. I see the full replacement front row, Cowell, Chapman and Salt, ready to go, fired up. They've had the word from Di Watts. They've had the word in the ear from Danny Milton. They will be coming on with fire in their bellies, Cian, because they cannot keep missing these chances.
They can't, but a fresh new set of faces, a fresh new front row, I think is just what is needed in this game now.
Cardiff Met have managed to keep that ball in play, and Davith Tueti is chasing after this into the corner. Nearly worked out. The ball is not bouncing favourably for Cardiff Met. Ewan Bowden looked to make that successful chip, but due to the greasy and wet waterlogged conditions of this pitch, Cian, it didn't quite work out. And I think we are about to see the addition of Chapman, Cowell and Salt.
The bomb squad are coming on. They're coming in to bring the impact, and this is what Danny Milton had in planned. I mean, even better, they're coming off while they're winning, but this is going to put the Leeds Becket pack under some serious pressure.
Ben Murphy has been outstanding for Cardiff Met, especially in defence, flying up there to meet the Becket attack. Tyler Olding and Matt Yowen Scott have also had a phenomenal game for the Archers, and they'll be wrapped up in the space blankets, tucked underneath the stands, and hopefully will get nice and dry and warm after putting in one heck of a shift for the Cardiff Met team. And Cowell, Chapman and Salt will introduce themselves into the fray and look to get Cardiff Met even further away from Leeds Becket on the scoreboard. The rain beginning to fall again here at King Coyd campus. A good box kick there from Winterburn. Sees it bounce into touch. Still inside the Leeds Becket half. And Captain Joe Cowell will certainly be having a word with his pack about what their plan of action will be from this position, Cian. I think I would opt for a driving maul personally. What about you?
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Keeping the ball in hand, playing it as little as you can, and only playing it when necessary. I just wanted to say, imagine you are those Leeds Becket front row. You've been scrumming your heart out the whole game, and then you have people like Connor Chapman, Joe Cowell coming up and facing you. I mean, it's not an easy game for them, is it?
Chapman and Cowell, of course, Welsh under-20s caps, internationals, and Elliot Salt, just a mammoth in that Cardiff Met front row. And Benji Williams again looked for the pick and go in the middle of the field. Captain Cowell himself looked to pick and go to try and find a gap in the Leeds Becket defence. And Jake Bond, with his first carry in the game, looking to carry hard around the fringes. And we have seen the introduction of Gethin Cannon there with his first carry of this match and his first carry in BUCS Super Rugby. The 18-year-old coming onto the pitch, coming into the fray here at Cardiff Met. He brings Dragons experience into the squad, and he'll certainly be looking to make an impact in what is turning out to be a miserable game in terms of conditions and rugby. Bond, Jake Bond, looking for a hole in the Leeds Becket defence. Stacey with a short pass there to Salt, who drives his way over the top of the Leeds Becket defence. Becket have a man down at the moment in the form of Emi Ilm-Shooter, but holding on the floor in Cardiff Met's latest attack, hands possession straight back to them. Becket again will clear their lines. Kian, you sound like a broken record. I sound like a broken record, because I'm going to say it again. It's another missed red zone opportunity.
I'll tell you what it is, and Cardiff Met have played this whole half down in their 22, and they need to be getting points on the board now. This is something that will come back and haunt them in next games over the course of the season.
We've got a replay of the turnover coming in now. Great work from the Leeds Becket defence to get stuck into that line, into that ruck, under significant pressure, so close to their own line. It was real strength and determination there, because I certainly wouldn't be brave enough to do that, because I'd be worried about giving away a penalty. As a fellow forward, Kian, what would be your stance on that?
I mean, you can look at it one way. You either give away a penalty or you bring your sides back into possession, and this is either a flanker's nightmare or dreamland, depending how much you back your Jacqueline skills.
And we see Leeds Becket introduce Sam Anson into the fray, the 18-year-old music production student, a back rower with experience at Gloucester Academy and under-18s level just down the road from good old Fortress Kincoid. He's definitely got a lot to bring into this Leeds Becket side as we approach the 20-minute mark in this second half. With 3/4 of the way through this match, Kian, we're still at 27-10 to Cardiff Met. I know that they're in a big winning margin at the moment, but they'll be desperate to get another try, won't they?
I think they're going to need to keep doing what they're doing, but they're going to need to convert. They are doing all the right things. They're getting in all the right areas, but there's too many mistakes, too many given away penalties. And as I keep saying, this will come back to haunt them. And against better opposition, they will be harmed.
And in the Cardiff University Nottingham game, the latest score there is Cardiff are currently 31-14 up against Nottingham University. Ever since Nottingham took that lead to 14 points, they simply haven't had an answer for the Cardiff University side, who really are pushing for top of the table this season. And Durham University are 13-7 up against Exeter University. They are definitely looking for that revenge over them after the BUCS Super Rugby final last season.
Leeds really, really need to make something out of this advantage now. It's now or never for them. If they don't get back into the game now, I'm not sure if they will again, James.
Well, Spenceley made sure that kick found touch as it curled away from him inside the 22, and it's on the Leeds Becket 10-metre line. And they'll look to use an attacking line out to get out of their own half. And because of the numbers, Chapman has found himself pushed out into the back line, and he will definitely be eyeing up Spenceley, the number 10, to put him under some significant pressure, as well as the rest of the Leeds Becket back line. But Waddle has soared into the air. He's leapt up. He's interrupted the ball, but it's not turned over. Leeds Becket dealt with the pressure well, and its replacement scrum half, Spencer Cope, who gets them back underway. Of course, bringing England County's experience into this. I'm told he can find a worm anywhere on the pitch. I don't know what that means, but if he can find a try for Leeds Becket, I take that as a win for the boys in purple. Stacey had his pass interrupted there, but he's got support from Gethin Cannon, who came in rapidly to try and stop the ball pinging away from the Archers and into the hands of the Leeds Becket side. Stacey just wants another carry perhaps before going for the box kick as Becket drive that new number 19 cannon backwards with one of his first carries in BUCS Super Rugby. That's certainly a welcome for the replacement second row, Kian.
Definitely, and they're just putting it back into the danger area now, and Becket have been able to cope with that very well.
It's bounced really awkwardly in front of Sam Trod, but he has leapt up to deal with it well. He's got the ball safely in those mitts. And Cardiff Met are looking for a quick carry through Cow. And surely, Keane, they must be looking to clear their lines.
I mean, you want to be putting it under pressure. There's still a very dry patch up in the Leeds Becket 22 that needs to be exploited by Met.
It is high from Stacey. It is looping, but because Cardiff Met carried it back into their own 22 and it's gone straight out into touch, Cardiff Met are marched back inside their own 22, and it will be Leeds Becket with the possession. Kean, a very threatening position for Leeds Becket to attack from.
Do you know what? I'm hoping for Leeds Becket now that they bring something out of this, because they've been given so many opportunities to come back into this game and they haven't been able to get out of their 22. They're now in Met's 22 and this is their time to shine.
Another trick play at the front. They're trying to use the same move that got them a try, but it's not worked this time for Malarkey because the line out wasn't straight. Obviously, you can't pass it straight to your own player. I don't think that memo was relayed to Kinneberg there in that scenario, and the move will not pull off again for another try for Becket. So, they've now given up possession in that red zone, Kean. How big a deal is that from a Cardiff Met perspective?
I mean, the fact that they were able to take the pressure off them, whether it had gone to hand or not and gone straight, Joe Coward got it sourced anyway. It's clearly something that they've noticed they keep doing, and I think that Met are ready and raring to go to defend from this red zone and get into their own red zone.
And while the chinos will be slightly damper than usual, the Cardiff Met Ultras are still out in full force to get behind the boys. And it's a big scrum push. Sultan Cowell desperately trying to drive their scrum forwards, but it's worked out to Roderick Evans, who's gone for the kick downfield. It has bounced, it has gone out. Cardiff Met can breathe just a little bit, Kian, but not too much because they won't want to invite Becket straight back in.
Really good kick there from Bradley Roderick Evans. He's seen that they're starting to get under pressure. The scrum wasn't the strongest by this game's standards, and he's taken the sting out of what could have been a dangerous situation.
Becket just having a quick word as to what they want the line-out call to be. They are not going out as wide to the far side of the pitch, Kean. They are sitting quite narrow for an attacking backline, you would say.
I mean, they want the ball to go to hand, and like you keep saying, they need to be playing the conditions.
Referee calling a penalty against Cardiff Met. Pulling in the line out is the call from the referee. And Becket will surely look to kick this straight to the corner, Kean.
Really good. The Leeds Becket boys are up from it now. We can see just in front of us how much they want to try.
Becket do find themselves in, again, a very dangerous position to attack from. They definitely will be looking for the try as they desperately try and claw their way back into this fixture. With nearly 25 minutes gone in this second half, so approaching the 65-minute mark with 15 minutes to go, Cardiff Met won't want to let them concede here at Kincoy campus. And another easy front ball there for Leeds Becket to get their hands on and set up a drive once again. But we can see Cowell and Salt surging through the middle. Chapman almost went to go and join in, but he thought better, and he's added himself into the back line because Becket have punctured a hole through the middle of the Cardiff Met back line through Ollie Norton. And now they look to pick and carry. It's Kenneberg. He's edged closer to the try line. The damp pitch almost saw him slide straight over for the score, but the pick and snipe down the right side of the ruck. Has he got it down?
Brilliant,
he has.
by Becket. Brilliant by Becket, really playing the conditions there, and they weren't getting greedy, they weren't getting white line fever, and they were picking and going, keeping it in the forwards, keeping it tight. Yes, there was space out wide, but if you keep the ball close to your chest and you don't have the chance to drop it, I mean, they've done really well there.
So Leeds Becket have scored what is only their second try in this fixture, but it's come at a very important time, because with a conversion which will hopefully be scored by their number 10 leading point scorer Freddie Spenceley, it would see them close the margin to Cardiff Met to only 10 points. Kian, that is not ideal for the Archers.
Do you know what, James? We've been saying it all day. Are the Archers going to be living to rue their mistakes? And if they get brought in within 10 points now, a converted try and another score, that is not a way you want to be getting into the last embers of the game.
And the kick not successful for Leeds Becket University. The conditions against the fly half, Spenceley, against us up here in the gantry. And against those players out on the pitch.
I'll tell you what, James, it is an enjoyable game to be had from all, whether it's up here in the gantry or it's down there on the pitch.
Big cheers coming in from the Cardiff Met Ultras as they force Leeds Becket into a fumble forwards. So Cardiff Met will have a scrum inside the Leeds Becket 22. This is a great position to run a training ground move from, Kian. I desperately want to see the Archers score.
Do you know what? I really want to see another one of those training ground moves, but I don't know whether the weather will permit it. But first things first, you need to make sure you are converting from this position. Leeds are going back into the game and the Archers need to shut them out.
Absolutely. Red zone conversion hasn't been the best for the Cardiff Met side. And Brad Morgan is standing right next to Roderick Evans. I'm sure he'll be running some sort of hard crash ball straight at Spenceley, as we know all inside centres love to do to fly halves in the beautiful game, Kian. The rain continues to pour down here at Kincoid campus. The score currently reads Cardiff Met 27, Leeds Becket 15. It's proven to be a very exciting fixture, with Cardiff Met securing a bonus point in the first half. But Leeds Becket are slowly starting to claw their way back into this fixture, the most recent of the two sides to score a try. If you are just joining us, that is your score update. That is the game so far in this second half. And a hotly contested scrum sees Williams come away and roar forward at the Leeds Becket defence. He boshed Spenceley away, and it looks as though men have slid over for another try. It is none other than Bond, Jake Bond, scoring for the Met. The fifth try in the game. That surely will wrap the fixture up for them, Kian.
Jake Bond, licensed to kill all of Leeds Becket's hopes of getting back into this game. A really strong foundation set by Benji after a really good scrum, and Jake Bond was able to snipe around the breakdown. He saw the space, and do you know what? I think that's a game.
He certainly had the gold fingers there when he got the ball and slid over for the try. You can see a lot of groans going on in the gantry to that reaction.
Brilliant to do it with the sky falling.
Brad Roderick Evans slots the kick for the extra 2 points, and Cardiff Met have instantly responded to the Leeds Becket score. And the scoreboard now reads at Kincoid campus: Cardiff Metropolitan University 34, Leeds Becket University 15. Kian, just as we thought Becket were getting back into the fixture, the rain starts pouring and Met just respond.
Do you know what? We were saying they need to convert, and that was probably the kick that they needed in order to get into gear and to realise they can't keep letting these chances get away from them.
We've got just about 10 minutes left to play in this fixture. Cal tried to control that with his feet. Waddle tried to chip it further forwards, but Becket are the ones that scoop up the kickoff, and it's charged down by Waddle. This ball is bouncing around more than a pinball machine, Kian.
I'll tell you what, those second rows are like tree trunks to nines. They are genuinely their worst nightmare.
Spencer Cope was able to deal with the pressure well from Cardiff Met, and the mark is called within the Cardiff Met 22. Sam Trod will look to clear further up the pitch, get Cardiff Met some territory, but it's gone straight into the hands of Devine, who passes it back inside to his fellow backs partners. And we look as though we're on for another game of kick tennis as Ethan Morgan goes low down the middle of the pitch. It's bobbling closer to that flag at the 22-metre mark.
Really good kick there by Ethan, really putting them under pressure.
And a great kick chase there from none other than Benji Williams, who's been all over the park so far in this fixture. Very impactful there from the number 8 in this clash. Cope again with another box kick. It's bouncing awkwardly, but Morgan is the one with the ball. It's another low kick. It's gone just over the head of Malarkey, who definitely touched it, so it had to be scooped up by Becket, make sure it didn't go into touch. And Devine with another lofting kick. Bowden now has the ball in hand. He's opted for a little chip. The bounce hasn't worked for him because it's gone straight into the hands of the 22, Dan Reed, who looked to try and make a surge forward, but the ball is knocked on in the tackle. He was looking for the offload. He desperately wanted a teammate to be running a line off him, but it just didn't come off.
Really good play by Becket there, and this is what we've been asking for all day. Open play rugby, running rugby, getting in behind. Really unlucky with the offload there, but that is what we've been wanting to see more of.
And we've already seen one replacement front row introduced into the fixture, and we now see another. Ben Bailey, Griff John Morris and Caleb Cujo will join us here in this very wet and windy Wednesday night. And off the pitch will come Emmy Ilan-Shooter, Nelly Kinneberg and Captain Callum Hancock. It's been a good shift from that front row, Cian, but it's certainly not the scoreline they would have wanted to achieve.
Certainly, and you know what? The last 5-10 minutes, I've thought that apart from that try, Becket have coached really well in the scrum. It's going to be to see how this new front row set up against a strong Mets pack.
We can see lining up just off of Bradley Roderick Evans, we've got Brad Morgan and David Tuetti eyeing up the centre partnership in the middle of the park for Leeds Becket there. Those are two big, strong ball carriers. Cian, Met will want to get the ball straight to them, will they not?
Do you know what? It's been a forwards game, James, and the backs will be wanting the ball now. They'll be wanting to get their hands and get themselves on the scoreline.
And it's a great driving scrum from the Cardiff Met pack, led from the front by Cowell, Chapman and Salt. And that replacement front row for Becket have been shocked in their first introduction to the game, because I don't think they know what just hit them, Cian.
Welcome to King Coyd campus, Leeds Becket.
And with the wind behind him, and with his boot feeling good, Bradley Roderick Evans is going for a kick from what looks to be around 58 metres out, Cian.
Oh, James, I'm telling you, I'm fancying another hits TikTok with this kick behind the halfway line.
I know you love a TikTok kid, so if he does slot it, will you clip it for him and will you put it out for him?
Absolutely, this is going straight on TikTok and this is getting over 500k views now.
Well, he's got to make the kick first, but I've got my fingers crossed. I'm sure other people do too.
All I'm thinking about is a TikTok, James.
Even though Roderick Evans is lining up the kick, Cowell was barking the orders for his squad to join him, and unfortunately, due to the boggy conditions underneath the feet of Roderick Evans, he hasn't connected with the ball well enough, so the ball was driven low down the middle of the park, and Becket now have an opportunity to get onto the front foot and get attacking again, which they've not done for a while.
Brad really hasn't come through there, to be honest, but I'm still, there's a lot we can do with that content.
Becket with the clearance kick goes straight towards Roderick Evans and Morgan. It's evaded Morgan, and pouncing straight onto it is replacement hooker Ben Bailey. He's jumped onto it, and Becket now find themselves around 30 metres ahead of where they were before. The box kick coming in from Cope. It's high, it's dangerous, but Roderick Evans has scooped it up into the little cradle of his hands and hoofed it down the pitch, but it's going dead past the try line, past the dead ball line. So play is coming all the way back now. We're just nearing the 35-minute mark in this second half. We've probably got about 5 minutes left to play, Kian. I know that our clocks won't match up with the one on the referee's wrist, but I'm going to ask it now, and you can have time to think. Who is your player of the match?
Do you know what, James? I'm going to have a long, hard think about it, but the people who stick out to me, I think Ben Murphy has had a brilliant game. I think, considering the conditions, Bradley Roderick Evans he's commanded the backline very well and kicked well, apart from that last kick. But we're going to have to see, and you're going to have to come back to me in a few minutes.
Absolutely, I will. And Mongan Moyo is setting nice and wide for Becket there in their attacking line that they've most recently set up. It's not been the greatest BUCS Super Rugby debut for him, but unfortunately he's not been able to find himself on the ball trying to carry it forwards, and it's something that we would have loved to have seen in this fixture. But the ball is worked out to that back line, and it's none other than Sam Bullitt. Another change in the back line into this fixture, who makes a strong carry to try and get Becket their go forwards. Cowell! He flew out the line there. He was like a Harrier jet coming off of a boat in the middle of the sea.
He's definitely been raring to go off that bench.
And again, he's involved in the defensive effort. Another great tackle there from the club captain. And a chip has gone straight into the arms of Gethin Cannon. If they weren't being called back for a penalty, that would have been a BUCS Super Rugby debut to remember, because he was bounding away.
I'll tell you what, Gethin has been up for it ever since he's come on the pitch. He is really wanting to make his impact on this BUCS Super Rugby fixture.
Dan Reid kicks it with intent into the corner for Leeds Becket, and they will look to set up what is surely going to be a driving maul, Kian. With this long left to play and the urge to get more points in this fixture, that must be their only option.
Do you know what? All credit to Leeds Becket. It's been a really difficult game for them today. Coming down to King Coy, it's coming down in these conditions, but they've always stayed within the game. They haven't let their heads drop, and let's see if they can make something happen here.
Well, they've gone to the front, which is what you can only really do in these sorts of conditions, with a greasy ball and wet players. Makes them very slippery to lift in the air. And with the ball not being secured by either sides, the referee is saying play has gone down. And Cardiff Met will have the put-in at the scrum, because they've halted the Becket attack. Kian, that's a big mini victory for the Archers.
I mean, the forwards will love that, won't they? They'll love that they've been able to turn it over and get back on the front foot and, you know, really stretch away and increase that points difference that will become oh so important towards the later stages of the season.
I'm sure we're about to be treated by another big scrum from Cowell, Chapman and Salt. Ball's placed in by Stacey, and they've got their drive on. They've got that momentum, but the penalty's been given against Cardiff Met. Leeds Becket have won a penalty this time at the scrum, and they have gone quickly. This time the referee allowing it, with Malarkey, who was the one trying to get Leeds Becket's tempo up. The Becket forwards are looking to pick and go. It's a huge tackle there from Barnaby Waddle in defence for the Archers, and every man is throwing their body on the line now. Salt, but he has just escaped the grasp of number 20 Ben Pettifer, who's marched his way close to the line. Has he made it over? No! It's a penalty to Cardiff Met for holding on the floor against Leeds Becket. And Kian, with around 90 seconds to 2 minutes to play, that's got to be the game completely wrapped up now.
Dying embers of the game. It would have been so easy for Cardiff to rest on their morals, but they want to make sure they're seeing this game out in true Archers fashion. A brilliant penalty there.
We had a replay there of the penalty awarded to Cardiff Met. Great work from the Archers back row to put Becket under significant pressure, get themselves low. And again, it's that strength that we've spoken about earlier in the game, Keane, the strength of the Cardiff Met forwards that mean they ultimately dominated that defensive set.
They've certainly been able to meet Leeds Becket in this game and take the game to them.
Gethin Cannon, interestingly, sitting at scrum half, but no, it's been a change. Cannon's in the line. Cannon's lifting Waddle. It's slipped through the fingers of Waddle, and it's with Leeds Becket again, just as Cardiff Met were able to stop Leeds Becket attacking. Due to a fumble at the line with a greasy ball key, and they're on the front foot again.
Leeds Becket have a chance to leave their marker on this game and get a point here. Some really strong running and really direct now.
Brad Morgan wraps up Devine, And Devine is then wrapped up by the debutant Gethin Cannon. What an action to do on your BUCS Super Rugby debut. To make sure to essentially bring the game to a close at full time by winning a penalty for your side. That's a great effort from the replacement second row. And it means that full time here at Kincoy campus is Cardiff Metropolitan University 34, Leeds Becket University 15. Cian, I'm coming straight to you for your man of the match.
Do you know what? I've said there's so many people who could be the starting front row, any of them. I think the whole forward pack played brilliantly. Brad Roderick Evans controlling the game in dire conditions, but he is that man who's just kicked the ball out, and I think he's been superb. Benji Williams, I think, has been emphatic and had a huge effect on this game.
Absolutely, and just before we unpack this game further, the latest scores from across the rest of BUCS Super Rugby are that Durham are currently beating Exeter 20 points to 5 up in the north. That is a big victory for the Durham boys, looking to get revenge over Exeter for last season's BUCS Super Rugby final. And Cardiff Uni have triumphed 31-14 against Nottingham University. Just when it looked to be slightly hair-raising in that fixture for them, they have come away with a victory. And Hartbury are now only up 32-28 against Loughborough. So they are coming back into this fixture, Cian. It's getting mighty tasty at the top of the table, but with that bonus point victory, Cardiff Met could be on top.
I'll tell you what, that is a performance. It was so easy for that game with those mistakes to let the game get away with them, but they handled it so well. By no means, James, was it the perfect game, but they did what needed to be done. They've got points on the board, which will come in so handy later on in the season, and although there are work-ons, I think the boys will be happy with that performance.
Now, before we talk about work-ons for Cardiff Met, there were, of course, another side here this evening. The Purple Brigade, Leeds Becket. They haven't come away with a win. They've come away with 15 points. That's obviously more than they've been able to achieve in the past in BUCS Super Rugby, but it's still not a great result for them. But there must be some standout players.
Do you know what? Some of the standout players for Leeds, I think their number 10, Freddie, was brilliant. I think he was able to kick well, he was able to control the game. He saw the gaps in defence, and I think Mason at 9, he was quick, he had an impact. It was so unfortunate that so many times he tried to play quick and they weren't quite able to get away. They're just frustrating side to watch, to be honest. They have all the talent there, they just need to be able to capitalise when the other team makes mistakes.
And the dampened Ultras certainly don't have their spirits dampened, because Cardiff Met have come away with a win and they've been able to do their thunderclap. I thought they were all going to run across the pitch and start sliding along the front of it. I was about to turn to you, Cian, and say, surely that's a stupid thing to do because you've already got wet enough.
I thought you were going to say, should we join in?
Absolutely not. I'm not going anywhere near that pitch, Cian. I've definitely not got my boots on. My pitchforks are at home. They're not on the bottom of my feet. Well, we've had a brilliant BUCS Super Rugby clash here today at Kincoy campus's Rugby 1 pitch. I'm pleased to have been joined by Cian Suki. A massive thanks for you for joining me up in CoComs today. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, James, it's been brilliant. You have been able to guide me through the game magnificently. We've been against the elements, but it's been fun, hasn't it?
We have been against the elements, but I love this league. It is the best league in the land, of the words of Dave Rogers. Well, last time out at Kincoid, Met won, they've won again, and in the next round they'll travel away to face Loughborough, who are also towards the top end of the table, and Becket will be at home once again against Durham University and will be looking to get that coveted win. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Kincoid campus and on this live stream. Thank you to all the students that have been able to put this stream together, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye. Julep, pop, 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 julep, pop, 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 pop.